Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. And I'm speaking with Dr. Okker Botha from Neogenesis Systems today. Thank you very much for joining us. I understand that you have a very busy schedule, so do appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
I understand, thanks. I understand that you're providing for Rife Technology that we're going to be making available through Live Blood Analysis Training Academy soon. Can you tell us a little bit about it, please?
Well, yes, absolutely. So, we've secured the rights to distribute the true Rife system internationally. Now, this machine was developed by a team of researchers and engineers over a 10-year period and has actually been in use a few years already by a handful of practitioners here. What's truly unique about the system is that it was built according to the same specifications that was used by Rife himself.
Wow, it's exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about the technology behind Rife?
Yes, absolutely. So there's quite a lot of information, and it really you can really spend a lot of time reading up about it. But I was always, I've always been fascinated by Dr. Rife's work. His name is usually mentioned in pleomorphism, and his work is actually quite well known in the natural health industry. What many people don't realize, though, is that Rife was actually not a quack. He was actually an esteemed member of the scientific and medical community in the early 1900s. And he was working with some of the leading medical specialists and scientists of the time. So he was trained in microbiology, optics, and engineering, but he worked most of his life as a researcher and inventor. Now, some of his technological inventions are still in use today in the fields of optics, electronics, radiochemistry, biochemistry, and also aviation. Now, Rife developed the most incredible microscope that, nearly 100 years later is still ahead of its time. He was able to achieve levels of magnification with his optical microscope back in the 1920s that is only possible with electron microscopes. Now, thanks to this very high level of magnification that he was able to achieve, he was able to observe bacteria, viruses, and other microorganisms in their live state. Now, through his research, he developed a beam ray device that used specific radio frequencies or specific frequencies of radio waves created in a particular type of wave pattern called a Hoyland wave to destroy pathogens. Now, as a result of the ability of this device to actually kill pathogens with radio waves and the near miraculous results that it was getting with cancer cases, including aggressive and incurable cases, he became renowned within the medical establishment of the time. And actually, many articles and news stories appeared regarding his remarkable accomplishments. Doctors from all over the US came to see what he was doing. And this all continued then until about 1939, when the AMA started to clamp down on his technology. The secretary of the AMA at the time actually tried to buy the exclusive rights to Rife's technology, but when Rife refused, they actually started a campaign then to discredit him and to suppress his technology. Now, he was quite literally ruined, and him and his team were litigated, into oblivion. At the time then, the doctors were threatened with imprisonment and or losing the licenses if they continued using Rife's technology. So this is unfortunately, not an unfamiliar story, but it might be one of the earliest. What's important, though, is that Dr. Rife was the only one whose technology achieved these great results. And due to the suppression of his technology, much of his research has been lost. However, in the 90s, one of the original machines was tracked down, and a team of researchers then spent over 20 years reverse engineering the machine. Now, it's from this data that we were then able to build over a period of 10 years a device according to Rife's own specifications.
Wow, so he went from very high esteem to now being known as a such
Absolutely.
a shame.
Such a sad story, and there's examples in many examples of this in the natural health industry, unfortunately.
He had one amazing microscope, from what I understand. Was that dark field? I know it was quite complicated.
It was extremely complicated. Yeah, it had thousands of parts that it consisted of. It polarized light. It also used things like dark field. So it really was a very complex device, and no one's actually been able to reproduce it. There is apparently one of the original Rife microscopes in the Smithsonian, but nobody has any access to it. So we're completely unable to reproduce what Rife was able to do with his microscope.
That's such a shame. I understand that it's all about the frequencies. Is there some of that information that has been retrieved?
Yes, absolutely. So the machine that was tracked down, researchers spent time basically testing the machine, looking at what the machine actually put out, the types of frequencies, the types of wave patterns and so on that the machine put out. So this information we have available. There is a resource that we used where this information is available, and we basically produced or developed this machine to produce those same frequencies. Now the frequencies are extremely important. The actual principle that underpins Rife's technology is resonance. So the same principle that applies when a glass is shattered with sound waves. Now, just like in the case of the glass, the frequency itself, the frequency alone, is not enough to cause the destruction of the microbe. The correct frequency has to be there. It's critical to achieve resonance, but the wave shape and the power of the wave also have to be just right to actually destroy pathogens. So a true Rife system must actually be able to reproduce all three of those parameters according to Rife's specifications. So the correct frequency, the correct wave shape, and also the correct power, which is expressed in watts.
That's really interesting because there are a lot of Rife machines around. And a lot of them claim to be based on the original Rife technology. But very few of them mention these three topics. They mainly seem to focus on the frequencies.
Yes. Sorry, yes, carry on.
Yeah, I just wondered, there is an awful lot of technology around. Do they focus on the wave as well, the wave and the wattage?
Well, some of them do have the correct frequencies. Some of them do use the correct power. Wave shape is quite critical, though I've not seen any of these other devices that create the same type of Hoyland wave. And that really is one of the absolute key principles with the Rife technology, is that it has to have the correct wave shape. And that was developed through years of research with Rife and his engineer Hoyland, who actually developed this type of wave pattern. And it's through the use of this actual wave pattern that he was only able to achieve, disruption or destruction of the microbes. So really, really important. And I've not really seen other machines that are able to fulfill these three, parameters properly. So the only way to really test and only way to really be sure is through actual measurement. If you measure what comes out of the device with an oscilloscope and a spectrum analyzer, those two devices, the oscilloscope and spectrum analyzer, will show you the frequencies and the type of wave shape and the power produced by the device. And if suppliers are not able to actually give you that information, from measurement from an oscilloscope and a spectrum analyzer, you really don't know what type of device you're getting, and there's really no way to know whether it actually is a proper Rife device. Despite what they say. Obviously, an oscilloscope and a spectrum analyzer is not something that one has sort of lying around. So, if you have a Rife device and you're not sure, two things that we generally recommend, that will show you that it definitely is not a Rife, not a proper Rife device. If you're holding onto the electrodes and you're feeling any type of sensation, even a slight shock will immediately show that it isn't a proper Rife device, because that immediately shows you that the frequency is too high. So any frequency below 50, I think it's below 50 kilohertz, the human body can't actually feel it. You won't be aware of it. But the frequencies used by Rife are far, far lower. So it's actually megahertz here. So if you're feeling a sensation, it's most likely not below 50 kilohertz, and then it's not using the correct frequencies. And the other thing is, if the Rife device is showing any type of different types of programs or frequencies that have to be set on the device itself, it also isn't a proper Rife device, because one of the first things that Rife discovered when he was doing his research with these microbes is that he found that they had to modulate radio frequencies or audio radio frequency waves into the sort of AM radio frequency wave. So in doing that, that's quite technical, but in doing that, they were able to produce a carrier wave with other waves parallel to that at specific frequency intervals. And in that way, then, during a 20-minute treatment session, each specific frequency is then treated for a total of 3 seconds each, which is actually what Rife used when he was treating his cancer patients. He was only using one specific frequency that he worked on initially for cancer, and he was only treating for 3 seconds on that frequency with his patients.
Okay, so that's the key to finding the right, shall we say, Rife machine. Those are the parameters for being able to choose a Rife machine that is genuine and authentic. Yes.
Absolutely. I would recommend not to look at any or look at buying any type of Rife system if they're not able to show you through measurement on an oscilloscope and spectrum analyzer what exactly the machine is producing.
That's very interesting. That's clarified a lot of questions about all the different producers of Rife. So it's able to help practitioners and their clients in many ways then. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Well, yes, absolutely. So, with this device, and as you said, there are literally hundreds of different types of Rife devices available, online. And I've also, in practice, when I started working in practice, I heard about Rife. I came across these devices. I had some patients in practice who were, who had purchased these types of devices and were treating themselves, and they were just simply not getting the results. If you read the reports on, you know, what Rife was able to achieve with his machines, and you know, all the excitement that was going on at the time because of what he was actually able to achieve. You know, there was a dinner hosted in his honor at one stage by a team of doctors in the US, and they actually advertised it as, you know, the end of all disease because of the amazing results that he was achieving. So unfortunately, you know, using these other Rife devices, you just don't get the results that you're expecting. So with the true Rife system, you know, it will allow practitioners to utilize Rife's technology, you know, his actual technology in their own practices. So, you know, Rife got incredible results with his device, and it's only with his technology where those results were actually seen. And he treated and cured various infections and cancers with it, and even very difficult cases that were considered very aggressive and very incurable. Now, we have seen in practice, in the time that we've used it, we've seen amazing results with the True Rife system, even in stage 4 cancers. But because the device destroys all pathogenic microbes, it's also useful just in your day-to-day live blood practice due to the correlation between, you know, many of the live and dry blood anomalies and pathogenic microbes.
Okay, I mean, would it be possible to see under a dark field microscope pathogenics being
Well, at the moment, we are working on something because the treatment is administered by holding onto electrodes. So it's with contact with the skin. That's how the frequencies are actually administered. So, you know, it just comes down to power. If you wanted to create you know, or transmit these frequencies, you know, directly into a blood sample, one has to have something to actually transmit those frequencies to, you know, to the blood sample. So we just need more power. So that is the limiting factor at the moment. The engineer who's working on the device is actually working on that. And they are developing that. That is the next point. And it really is extremely exciting, because then you will actually be able to see microbes being destroyed, you know, in front of your very eyes on a screen as a result of this treatment. So yeah, that will be truly fascinating. What we have noticed, though, you know, without having access to this, just with the device as it is just amazing results in practice. And things just improve, you know, with regards to, you know, a wide variety of symptoms and parameters that we look for in the blood. So, you know, if you're looking for something to use in practice that will just help your client's blood improve generally, it's incredible for that, because it helps to clear all the underlying infections within the terrain. And it also, you know, helps to basically stimulate the system to overcome whatever is you know, underlying the medical diagnosis. You know, in cancer, one of the things that Rife developed was he, with his research, he basically proposed the existence of a cancer virus, because he said it was able to isolate a virus from breast cancer. And so that is the sort of basis of the understanding of how the device actually works in the treatment of cancer, is that it actually destroys the underlying causative microorganism. So yeah, it really is absolutely fascinating technology.
That's fascinating and very exciting. I look forward to learning more about that. So could it be used as a preventative medicine then? Sort of
well, yes.
destroying microbes at the cellular level?
Yes, absolutely. So it can, you know, so most people would be exposed to this type of technology you know, only if there is some major problem, you know, as a sort of consumer, only if there is, you know, something like cancer, they would usually come across Rife. But because of the way that the system works, and it is completely harmless, you know, you can treat yourself, and there really isn't any major risk. You can treat children, babies. There's no real risk from the technology. So people can use it as a kind of a preventative basis as well. You know, 1 or 2 treatments a month, just to ensure that everything is you know, in a good state of balance.
Wow, okay, that sounds like a really good idea for preventive medicine. So is Rife Technology difficult to learn?
Well, look, the technology itself, the sort of technical aspect of it is quite difficult. It really is very technical, and you know, one has to have a good understanding of physics, electrical engineering, and also radio frequencies. But fortunately, the device itself, the true Rife device itself, is extremely easy to use. It was actually designed to allow anyone to be able to use it, because in some cases practitioners would give the device to their clients to use at their own homes, or you know, clients might buy the device for themselves as well. So to use is extremely easy. It's literally 1 button that has to be pressed for treatment, and then the device sweeps through all the pathogen frequencies during the 20-minute treatment session. So there's no need to, you know, choose and set specific frequencies for specific conditions or you know, treatments that you need to do. The treatment time is about 20 minutes, and generally 2 treatments a week is sufficient for the vast majority of cases.
So what one really needs to learn then are the protocols for is that correct?
Yes, absolutely, quite correct. So, you know, in terms of the use of the device itself, there's not really much additional information that can be given there. We have a manual that's supplied with the device, that provides the practitioner with all the information that they'll need to utilize the technology properly. And then we do provide support for practitioners as well. So if they need any advice, you know, regarding protocols, or, you know, approaching the treatment of a specific type of case, you know, we are available to help.
Okay, so Live Blood Online is working with you to produce an ebook, because I understand, will there be training courses on there?
Well, we have been sort of looking at how to put something together, but you know, as I said, it is quite difficult because the machine is extremely simple to use. But we might be looking at doing, you know, perhaps something short, just expanding on, you know, what to do in terms of specific conditions. So maybe specific protocols for specific conditions. But yeah, it's fairly simple. So I think with something like an ebook and the manual, you definitely will be well on your way to actually utilize the technology properly.
Okay, marvelous. Well, we are putting an ebook, and we're also soon launching the Live Blood Analysis Training Academy, where all the information will be available. So if you do have any questions, you want to be informed, please email us at info@livebloodonline.com, and we'll keep you informed, keep you up to date on the developments. So thank you very much for joining us today, Dr. Okker, and taking time from your busy schedule. We appreciate it. And thank you all very much for joining us, and look forward to speaking to you all soon. Thank you. Goodbye from me. Goodbye, Dr. Okker.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.